You are listening on Garden Story. If you enjoy it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Wishing you happy listening. When the shopping mall exploded, I lost my right arm trying to save my boyfriend Keith Warren, and having once been a genius doctor, I could no longer hold a scalpel. Keith said he wanted to repay my life, saving grace, so he proposed to me in front of everyone, and took care of me attentively every day. But when I was pregnant and near delivery, he tied me to the bed, poured gasoline all over my body. Who told you to meddle in things that weren't your business? That day at the shopping mall, you kept stopping me from saving her, just like you caused her death yourself. She had to suffer so much pain, so you must pay a price 100,000 times worse. When the flames consumed me, I finally understood. It turned out he had always resented me for preventing him from saving his childhood sweetheart Hannah, more all those years ago. He only wanted revenge for the dead woman with all his heart. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the exact day the shopping mall explosion occurred. I'm back to the day the shopping mall exploded. My right hand was still gripping my boyfriend Keith's hand tightly, refusing to let go. Sophia Shaw, let go. Hannah is still inside, I have to go in and save her. He glared at me with anger, his eyes filled only with urgency. In just a blink, I easily released his hand. In my previous life, I had used all my strength to pull Keith away from the explosion. To shield him, I was even struck unconscious by falling steel beams, blood flowing everywhere. When I woke up in the hospital, my right wrist was empty. When I realized I could never hold a scalpel again, tears streamed down my face. It was at that moment that Keith proposed to me. Sophia, this time it's my turn to save you. He knelt on one knee before me, saying he wanted to dedicate his life to repay my life, saving grace. After we married, he was the model husband in everyone's eyes. Under his devoted care, I gradually recovered my spirits, overcame all kinds of difficulties, and even luckily secured a job with an annual salary of 500,000 yuan. We quickly saved enough money for me to get a prosthetic arm and live like a normal person. We even had a baby. Preparing to welcome a happy family of 3. Everything seemed to be getting better. I once thought Keith was the light that illuminated my dark world after the accident. Until our wedding anniversary. I drank the fruit juice he prepared without any suspicion. When I woke up, I found myself tied up, my whole body reeking of the unpleasant smell of gasoline. Sophia, you killed Hannah, it's all because of you. Who told you to meddle in things that had nothing to do with you and save me? If I had gotten in that day, I definitely could have saved Hannah. The man who once gently cared for me now held a lighter, his eyes like a madman's. Only then did I understand that Keith had always hated me for keeping him back during the explosion, preventing him from saving the girl he loved, his childhood sweetheart. Looking at that familiar yet strange face, my heart felt torn apart piece by piece with despair. You destroyed my love, so I will destroy you too. His voice was full of resentment, like a knife stabbing into my heart. The flames erupted quickly, consuming me in an instant. I was burned alive in excruciating pain, and at that exact moment Sophia let go. Before my eyes, Keith roared angrily at me, his face full of gloom, exactly like in my memories. That's what you said. I nodded without hesitation, turned around and ran straight toward the emergency exit. After the explosion in my previous life, the shopping mall was so chaotic I couldn't hear clearly what Keith was saying. I was single, mindedly focused on saving people. Completely unaware that in my boyfriend's heart of many years, there was only the shadow of his childhood sweetheart. If he loved her that much, I should naturally step aside. In the corner of my eye, he stood frozen in place, apparently not expecting me to actually run away like that. In this life, I won't repeat the same mistake. After being rescued, I went to the hospital with everyone else. Looking at my intact arm, I covered my face, tears of joy flowing after escaping death. In this life, I'm still whole, my hand is fine, I can still be a doctor. On the other side, Keith got his wish and saved his childhood sweetheart Hannah. The price was his legs. A wall collapsed just as it crushed both his legs, flesh and blood mixed together, he fainted on the spot, the outcome even more tragic than my previous life. Keith truly loved Hannah. When he was carried out from the scene unconscious, his hand was still gripping hers tightly, refusing to let go. That moment was captured by a reporter and broadcast live on all platforms. Many people were moved to tears. To this extent and still not letting go of her hand, this is truly real love. This girl will definitely be moved to tears. Bless these two people. Hearing the sighs around me, I just smiled. In my previous life, relying on the title of childhood sweetheart, Hannah always interfered between Keith and me. When it thundered and lightning struck at midnight, she'd text wanting someone by her side. When drunk, she'd cling to Keith demanding kisses. Worst of all was once appearing naked on his bed. I had tactfully reminded Keith many times, but he seemed blind. We're just good friends, don't be jealous over nothing. When Hannah unfortunately passed away, all my words became evidence of my jealousy. Keith began to hate me to the bone. Before lighting the fire, he smiled sinisterly and said that while waiting for rescue, he had personally broken my arm. Hannah is dead, yet you're still living well. Do you deserve it? You must suffer pain 100 times, 1,000 times worse. Losing just one arm is still too light for you. A disabled person like you, no one would love. Closing my eyes, those venomous curses still echoed in my ears. In Keith's heart, there was only Hannah, and I was just the evil villain blocking their great love. But now it's Keith who's disabled in both legs. I wonder how much love his beloved childhood sweetheart still has for him, after all. He once said himself. Who could love a disabled person? Outside the emergency room, Keith's mother was crying her heart out, gripping my clothes tightly and refusing to let go. Sophia, why did Keith get into an accident while you're standing here perfectly fine? Isn't he the person you love most? How can you be so heartless to watch him die and not save him? She glared at me with eyes that looked like she wanted to devour me alive. That scolding face gradually overlapped with old memories. In my previous life, when she learned I had risked my life to save Keith, his mother had been moved to tears, saying she would love me like her own daughter. But when Keith proposed, she immediately turned hostile. My son is so outstanding. How could he marry a disabled person? She believed that my saving Keith was natural and shouldn't be rewarded. Behind my back, she cursed me countless times, wishing I had died in the explosion instead. Before, out of respect for Keith, I gritted my teeth and endured it, but looking back now, this mother and son were truly beasts of the same feather. How can anyone be so heartless? Watching your boyfriend die and still remaining calm. Keith's mother sat on the ground crying loudly and making a scene. The noise grew louder. I only have this one son. How will I live in the future? People began gathering around. Some even taking out their phones to record videos. Once that clip went online, with dirty water splashed on me, I'd be nailed to the pillar of shame. Clearly Keith's mother was deliberately causing chaos. I naturally wouldn't let her achieve her goal. I took a deep breath, pinched my thigh hard to make tears flow immediately. Aunt Warren, it's not that I didn't want to save him, but I couldn't stop him. Keith was determined to go in and save Hannah, even if it meant dying with her. I'm his girlfriend. I love him so much, how could I bear to make him sad? I wailed until my voice broke. The sobbing echoed throughout the corridor, and the eyes of those gathered around became even more interested. A look of confusion flashed across Keith's mother's face, and she was about to speak when the emergency room door burst open. She immediately rushed over in panic, unable to say another word. Waiting for her was Keith, covered in blood, lying motionless on the emergency bed. His injured legs were wrapped tightly in bandages, but you could still clearly see the bloodstains spreading underneath. Oh my child, my child. Keith's mother cried in anguish. Why did you have to go save someone? I can't live without you. But Keith's pale face lit up with a happy smile. It's just losing my legs. As long as I saved Hannah, even if I lost my life, I wouldn't regret it. The pained expression on Keith's mother's face immediately froze. The space fell into silence. A sharp-eyed person in the crowd recognized him. Isn't this the guy from the news just now? The one who was unconscious but still holding his girlfriend's hand tightly. So it turns out he's a scumbag cheater. How disgusting. I didn't need to say another word. Everyone had already pieced together the full story of humiliation I had once endured. Everyone was righteously indignant, angrily criticizing Keith nonstop. Keith was already weak, and being scolded to the point of fainting again, had to be rushed back into the emergency room. Outside the room, Keith's mother cried inconsolably, and those around her avoided her with disdain. Outside the hospital, many reporters had gathered. Earlier, Keith's heroic life, saving actions and the scene of holding his girlfriend's hand, while unconscious, had been widely reported online. Countless people praised him as a brave hero. After being sensationalized, public opinion had reached its peak. Oh my God. To have a man willing to sacrifice his life for you, how touching. Meeting someone like that, just marry him immediately. I'm starting to believe in true love again. So I enthusiastically gave them directions to the emergency room. Not long after, I saw in the live broadcast that Hannah had only minor injuries. She shed crocodile tears in front of the camera, choking up as she confessed, "I will stay by Keith's side forever. He is my whole world." She even gritted her teeth and paid tens of thousands in medical fees in front of the crowd. The comments below were full of praise for this dream, like love. Love. I remembered in my previous life hearing Hannah talking to friends about Keith, her tone full of mockery. "Don't joke around, it's just for fun. He's just a backup to use temporarily. When I get tired of him, I'll kick him aside." From the beginning, Hannah was just playing with his feelings. But in Keith's eyes, she was a pure white jasmine flower. He resented me for destroying that beautiful love. When the flames burned me, causing pain that made me wish I could die and live again, he gritted his teeth and said, "I want to stay by Hannah's side forever. Even death wouldn't make me regret it." Now you two are bound together, consider it getting what you wanted. But how could life be so simple? The daily burn treatment costs alone were tens of thousands. Not to mention Keith losing both legs, from rehabilitation to prosthetics, everything in the future would cost enormous amounts, but both were just students with not a penny in their pockets. When all the money runs out, how long can their true love last? I could hardly wait to see Keith see through Hannah's true face. What kind of desperate scene would that be? Unexpectedly, that day came sooner than I thought. After leaving the hospital, the first thing I did was contact my advisor, expressing my desire to continue in-depth research. When I received his nod of approval, I immediately returned to the laboratory. Being given a second chance at life, I could finally pursue my life's dream again. In my previous life, even after losing an arm, I never gave up. I continued studying and trying to improve myself. Much of that knowledge was deeply ingrained, so learning it again wasn't difficult at all. In less than half a month, I had submitted a perfect report that neatly solved a problem that had given the entire team headaches for half a year. Everyone was amazed and couldn't believe their eyes. My advisor was thrilled and immediately helped me apply for a study abroad scholarship, plus approved additional funding, including various bonuses and allowances in the group. I received a full 200,000 yuan. My senior colleagues celebrated for me, so we all went to a restaurant to celebrate. Unexpectedly, I ran into Hannah and Keith. After the sensational interview went viral, the two of them suddenly became a hot couple online. They posted lovey-dovey videos daily, quickly attracting a large fan base. They became symbols of true love. How ridiculous a betrayer and a shameless fox, and they're worthy of being role models for romance. A senior in my group pouted, "I know the whole story, so I feel indignant on your behalf." I just smiled, not bothering to pay attention to those two. Who would have thought Keith would actually seek me out himself? Coming out of the restroom, I saw him sitting in a wheelchair, gaunt all over, eyes gloomy, both pant legs empty, a sight that made one's skin crawl. I understood him too well, an arrogant person with extremely high pride. Yet to show his deep love online, Hannah repeatedly exposed his amputated legs and horrific scars for the world to see. For Keith, this was more unbearable than death itself. Seeing him in such agony, my heart felt strangely relieved. I didn't even bother to glance at him, just walked right past. Unexpectedly, Keith called me back, demanding 200,000 yuan right off the bat. "Sophia, I'm in this miserable state all because of you. You have to pay for my prosthetic legs." "Keith, have you lost your mind?" I thought I was hearing things, like listening to a fairy tale. But Keith still wore that face full of resentment. "If you hadn't pulled me back that day, I wouldn't have ended up like this. I've looked into it, your actions constitute legal liability." I was so angry I burst out laughing, speechless. In my previous life, I saved him from the sea of fire, yet he resented me for it, and finally burned me to death. In this life, I was generous enough to step aside, yet now he's blaming all his disability on me. How can anyone be so shameless? Keith thought I was scared by his threats, his eyes becoming more and more smug. Now I'm a hot guy with millions of fans. Just one wave of my hand, and a whole army of fans will protect me. When that time comes, everyone will know you watched someone die without helping. The school will expel you. Your parents will be ashamed of having a daughter like you, and all of society will boycott you. His eyes looked at me with venom, his face showing a threatening expression, as if destroying me was as easy as flipping his palm. In that moment, I really thought I was having auditory hallucinations. Keith glared at me, anger blazing furiously, as if all the misfortunes in his life were caused by me. "Do I need to remind you that I pulled you toward the exit, while you stubbornly refused to go, insisting on going back to save your childhood sweetheart?" I laughed coldly. "If you're already delusional, go get treatment quickly, don't have episodes here." perhaps not expecting me to react this way. Keith was stunned for a moment, then frowned and questioned. But you were my girlfriend. You should have thought of me, should have persuaded me more, right? What? Being shameless to this extent is the limit. I was annoyed and dodged to the side. Ex-girlfriend. Please don't drag me into your affairs. Seeing me avoid him like avoiding evil, Keith's face darkened again, his veined hands on the wheelchair clenched tightly. So now even you look down on me as disabled, right? What else? In my heart, I just wanted to roll my eyes. Didn't I advise him enough in my previous life? I risked my life to save him, got seriously injured but never complained once. The result was his ingratitude and betrayal. Breaking my arm and then pushing me to death along with 2 lives. The pain from those flames burning. I could never forget it in my lifetime. I would never step into the same trap twice. Moreover, his girlfriend now is Hannah. He should ask her for medical expenses. I smirked. She's a hot influencer with millions of views. She must be making tons of money. But that money is for Keith and me to get married later. It's our startup capital. We have to save it. A coquettish voice rang out nearby. Hannah appeared from nowhere, her face full of grievance, coaxing Keith like a puppy in just a few words, then turning to blame me. People say 100 days of marriage creates deep bonds. Sophia, you and Keith once truly loved each other. How can you be so heartless? Besides, it's not even a large amount, just 200,000. Didn't you just receive a scholarship? Using that money to help Keith stand up again? Wouldn't that be very meaningful? Hannah spoke as if she had heavenly logic, painting herself as a spotless saint. Keith looked at her with glowing eyes. And I just found it ridiculous. Do I need to remind you people? Keith's act of disregarding everything to rush in and save Hannah that day. I won't comment, but did he ever think that I was his girlfriend at the time? All of social media was loudly praising that so-called true love. Did you really think I was blind and couldn't see anything? Keith's face stiffened, choking on his words. And you too, Hannah. I turned to look at the woman who had been the fuse that caused my tragic death in my previous life, coldly curling my lips. I really admire you, being a mistress to this extent and still being able to pretend to be righteous. Thick skin is your talent, but don't think everyone is stupid enough to be led by the nose by you. In that instant, both their faces immediately froze. I looked them up and down, continuing. Cartier watch, LV bag, Swarovski necklace. If you just bought 2 fewer items, Keith's prosthetic leg money would be enough. When you were spending money buying things, why didn't you think of Keith even a little? Or is your love not deep enough? Sophia, don't be so unreasonable. I'm giving you a chance but you don't know how to seize it. Her fake mask exposed by me, Hannah trembled with rage. She raised her long, sharp nails, ready to lunge at me to teach me a lesson. But the very next second, before she could even touch my clothes, she was blocked by an arm stretched out horizontally. Only then did I notice my lab colleagues had been standing in front of me protectively. My senior sister winked mischievously. Seeing you were gone so long, I guessed you must have been harassed by these 2 scoundrels. Sure enough, I was right. A senior brother flexed his muscular arms. With us here, don't even dream of touching Sophia. They were all gym enthusiasts, each tall and strong, standing in front like a towering mountain range. Hannah and Keith immediately backed down. Fine, Sophia. Just wait, there will come a day when you regret this. Hannah gritted her teeth and threatened before leaving with Keith, both unwillingly departing. When they were out of sight, my senior sister immediately asked with concern, Sophia, are you okay? After confirming I was fine, she snorted coldly with disdain. That pair of scoundrels still had the face to appear in front of you. They're clearly trying to stab a knife into your heart. I smiled lightly. No. They won't live long anyway. Though Hannah tried to hide it earlier, her glances at Keith revealed clear impatience and contempt. When leaving, she didn't even bother to help, letting Keith sweat profusely while struggling to push his wheelchair alone. If that's called true love, only ghosts would believe it. It's just that being a hot online influencer makes easy money. She's reluctant to give up that fat piece of cake. Only the full Keith can't see through it. When the sword hanging over his neck falls, his expression will surely be spectacular. The appearance of Keith and Hannah didn't bother me at all. I asked my advisor for leave and returned to my small hometown. The moment I saw my parents, tears suddenly welled up uncontrollably. I threw myself into their arms, choked up and unable to speak. In my previous life, after I lost my right arm, my parents were heartbroken to the point of breakdown. When they learned I did it to save Keith, though unwilling in their hearts, they never blamed me once. Later, when Keith proposed to me, everyone congratulated us, thinking Keith and I were a destined couple. Only my parents held a different attitude. Sophia, it's not that we're overthinking, but you've lost your right arm. Will Keith really willingly marry you? Mom advises you. That guy looks deeply scheming from the start. He's not someone worth entrusting your life to. But at that time, Keith's act was too good, gentle and caring. I was completely immersed in his sweet words, and even argued with my parents countless times because of it. Living again, I finally deeply felt how accurate my parents' concern for their child was. At this moment, seeing me crying uncontrollably, my parents immediately changed their expressions. What happened, daughter? Who bullied you? Don't be afraid, we're here to stand up for you. I shook my head, wiped my tears, and told them about breaking up with Keith, including how he disregarded everything to save his childhood sweetheart. After hearing this, Dad frowned deeply. Breaking up was right. Someone who can't distinguish right from wrong like that isn't worthy. It was rare for me to come home, and seeing me thin from studying, my parents insisted on keeping me a few more days for nourishment. I was also happy to stay in the countryside without internet, wholeheartedly spending time with my parents. It wasn't until I discovered I was being cyberbullied, and labeled the most vicious woman, that public opinion had been boiling for half the time already. The small town didn't pay much attention to online affairs anyway. I learned about this from a call from my senior sister. Sophia, don't pay attention to that nonsense online. Be careful these days, rest assured, we all believe in you. Only then did I learn I was being terrorized by netizens. It all started with a small video Hannah posted on her social media account a few days ago. She appeared with Keith, hand in hand, reminiscing about sweet memories and casually mentioning an ex-girlfriend of Keith's. Coincidentally, that person was also present during the explosion years ago. The result was that the other person was completely unharmed, while Keith became disabled. During that time, Keith was living in great pain. Every time I looked at him, my heart felt squeezed. In the video, Hannah looked at Keith with tears, her face full of indignation on his behalf. Keith pretended to be sad yet strong. Forget it, humans are naturally selfish, she despises me, I don't blame her either. They deliberately kept details vague, playing off each other to create the so-called truth that I heartlessly abandoned him, because I hated having a disabled boyfriend. In the comments section, an account bearing Keith's mother's name angrily left malicious words. When my son had his accident, she was there, she definitely harmed my boy. As soon as she heard Keith was disabled, she was the fastest to run away. I saw through her long ago, not a good person. You can tell just by looking that she's the type to seduce men. She blatantly exposed all my personal information, name, age, school, even department and major, hiding nothing. The flames of public opinion immediately erupted, spreading to my school. Countless netizens angrily dug up dirt on me. Some even concocted conspiracies, so young yet brought into the laboratory, definitely through improper relationships. How can a girl get into a laboratory? Must be through gifts or selling her body. Then another academic fraud accusation. Chaotic rumors and blatant slander piled up like this, nailing me to the pillar of shame. Though the school promptly issued clarifications and publicly revealed my grades and academic achievements over the years, the netizen detectives stubbornly insisted it was all fake. The entire internet was flooded with filthy, vicious curses. What was the truth? No one cared anymore. Looking at tens of thousands of cursing comments below, I could only laugh coldly. If there wasn't someone deliberately pulling strings behind this, that would be strange. After thinking for a while, I reopened my blocked list to find Keith's number. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. I burst out laughing. I hadn't even blocked him yet, but he had already blocked me first. Truly guilty conscience. But Keith seemed to forget one thing: the truth is always the truth. No matter how much you fabricate, fake can never become real. He must have forgotten why we appeared just when the shopping mall exploded that day. That day was our 1-year anniversary. I had planned to record a vlog capturing our entire sweet day together. Keith had agreed too. Who knew that halfway through, he learned that Hannah was arguing with someone in the nearby shopping mall, worried she'd suffer, so he insisted on going over. That's how we encountered the explosion. I had kept the camera rolling the entire time, only stopping after being rescued and discharged safely. That video is still intact in my camera, clearly recording Keith's stubborn insistence on going in to save someone. His mother's face changing colors, and the undeniable truth about his affair, all irrefutable evidence they can't deny. After editing the clip, I directly contacted a hot news account online and sold the video to them. That page knew how to create waves and immediately scheduled a livestream PK with Hannah. So the next evening, in a livestream room with hundreds of thousands of viewers, that video was broadcast live. In an instant, Hannah and Keith's faces turned pale as paper, the entire room was in uproar, and netizens weren't stupid either. They began to see the problem. Damn. So this guy rushed in to save his mistress and became disabled. What does it have to do with his ex-girlfriend? A pick plot twist. What fighting god of love and brave hero? Now they look no different from scumbag couples. Hey, don't go too far. They were just kind-heartedly saving people. Saving people isn't wrong, but blaming his ex-girlfriend is definitely wrong, rushing headfirst into fire then blaming others. I feel sorry for his ex-girlfriend. Being cheated on wasn't enough. She was also framed by these two jerks, attacked by netizens. Someone with weak psychology would get depression. I was cursing that girl before. Now seeing this video I'm furious at this despicable couple. Heaven will punish them. And that mother too. Oh my god, her son is her son, but other people's daughters aren't human. Moral hypocrite. Is this a habit? Within hours, public opinion completely reversed. Hannah's account lost tens of thousands of followers every minute. Comments were all curses, forcing her to close comments entirely. But it didn't stop there. During her account management period, she frantically accepted advertisements earning hundreds of thousands. Now with her image collapsed, what awaited her were lawsuits demanding compensation from various brands. Her life was over. I looked at my bank account, that just received 100,001 from that video, and smiled with satisfaction. Fleecing those scumbags while still making money. Truly delightful. Not long after, Hannah and Keith couldn't withstand it anymore, and had to livestream an apology. We're truly sorry everyone, we were wrong. In front of the camera, Hannah's eyes were red with tears falling like rain, attributing all mistakes to youthful impulsiveness. Back then Keith lost both legs. We were all very depressed, emotions unstable, really not intentional. She even twisted the affair into pure childhood sweetheart feelings. Insisting that because Keith risked his life to save her from danger, she developed feelings. Keith bowed his head beside her, not forgetting to show his empty pant legs, pretending to be pitiful to the extreme. Netizens were naturally soft-hearted toward the weak, plus with comment control teams and hired reputation protection armies, the waves of anger gradually subsided. But before long, another video spread online, the scene of Keith and Hannah cornering me at the restroom that day, arrogantly demanding 200,000 yuan from me. The clear footage fully exposed their hypocritical faces. The online community erupted again. This time, Hannah and Keith's masks were completely torn off. No matter how many times they live-streamed apologies or how much they cried, no one believed them anymore. The boy who cried wolf. No one would fall for their trap a second time. Living again. The ones nailed to the pillar of shame were them. Returning to school, the first thing I did was treat my lab colleagues to a proper feast. The surveillance video from the restaurant that day was obtained by the manager at their request, and posted online to seek justice for me. These past days, they spent considerable time clarifying the truth for me. It's nothing. No need for you to spend so much. Exactly, you're our junior sister. To let you get bullied right in front of us, where would we hide our faces? Though they said this, their hands never stopped grabbing grilled meat, eating as if they'd never had a meal. My senior sister just glared and asked directly, "Are you really planning to let this matter end here?" I'm telling you honestly, I can't let it go. Those days when you were being cursed online. Even I as an outsider felt suffocated watching. This society is always harsh on women. When men are playboys they're jokingly called players. But women who do anything slightly different from the norm are immediately labeled as scheming, gold, digging, promiscuous, shameless. A whole mob piles on to dump their dark psychology onto one innocent girl. Even if it's clarified later, who would bother to care? The trauma the victim suffers, who can compensate for that? After that feast, I found a reputable law firm and officially sued Hannah, Keith, his mother, and those online accounts that fabricated and spread false information. But before I could wait for the court summons, news of Hannah's affair exploded online. The source was an angry netizen's accusation. He had once spent the night with a popular online influencer who had agreed to split costs 50-50. Yet she disappeared, leaving him to pay over 5,000 yuan for the room alone. Furious when she blocked his contact attempts, he directly posted photos of bed sheets, as clear evidence that Hannah couldn't deny. The online community quickly joined in, tracing this matter backwards and discovering that when the affair occurred, Hannah was still Keith's official girlfriend. In fact, in an old video, she had once proudly shown off a sweet love bite. Turns out it was a trace from that night's fun. Less than a few days later, people caught Hannah and Keith Warren arguing in the street. The two were even physically fighting, but because Keith was disabled and weak, Hannah kicked him straight off his wheelchair, causing him to roll on the ground like a stray dog. She coldly laughed and stepped into a luxury car, speeding away without looking back. "Oh my God," netizens exclaimed in unison. "In all these years of living, I've seen everything, but this is truly a first." Hannah's face must be cast from rockets to be that thick, but I have to admit it was satisfying to watch. If you cheat on others, you'll eventually be cheated on too. Keith deserved this karma. Now I just hope heaven has eyes and Hannah gets struck by lightning too. Then it'll be complete. I must say that netizens' keyboard was truly prophetic. 3 days later, Hannah was officially arrested by police. Her biggest secret was finally exposed. The cause of the shopping mall explosion was someone deliberately setting fires that led to gas leaks and explosions. And the culprit was Hannah herself. That day she had bet with friends that she could eat for free, but was unfortunately caught by restaurant staff and forced to pay in front of a crowd, losing all face. Hannah harbored resentment and snuck into the kitchen area with a lighter while no one was watching. In my previous life, after the arson, she escaped during the chaos but unfortunately got caught in a stampede, was swept into the crowd and died. Dead, she was considered an unfortunate victim, and the arson had no evidence, becoming an unsolved case. But in this life, when I abandoned Keith and ran away, I accidentally helped someone who had fallen on the road. That person was a blogger who specialized in restaurant reviews. When Hannah was caught by staff, he happened to be at that restaurant. While editing his video, he discovered Hannah's suspicious behavior and reported it to police, thus exposing the truth. Awaiting her was the harshest sentence. Knowing everything, I didn't care anymore and focused on preparing my study abroad plans. Until half a year later, when my senior sister saw me off at the airport, she suddenly revealed, "Remember that pair of scumbags who framed you? They're both dead." I was stunned. It turned out that due to serious consequences and aggravating circumstances, Hannah was sentenced to life imprisonment, but right after the trial, she was found to be pregnant. She deliberately got pregnant to apply for serving her sentence outside prison, claiming the child was Keith's. Keith shamelessly accepted it, playing the role of a man who forgives out of love. Who knew that during one visit, he suddenly doused Hannah with gasoline, then in her screams, smiled maniacally and lit his lighter. Though discovered in time, no one could save them. Hannah was burned to ashes. Keith, standing too close to escape, was also severely burned, barely alive in excruciating pain, living a fate worse than death. My senior sister sighed. Only a friend working at the hospital was the doctor who performed Keith's leg amputation surgery. I heard that back then his nerve damage left him without reproductive function. Impossible to have children. That child fundamentally wasn't his. Just then, the airport announcement called for boarding. My senior sister stopped talking and waved with a smile. "Go on. Remember to come back soon and take me flying with you." I smiled back, turned and stepped toward my new journey. Everything from yesterday vanished like clouds and smoke. Before me was a brilliant new dawn. True character reveals itself in crisis, not comfort. The protagonist's journey teaches us that toxic relationships built on deception will inevitably collapse under their own weight. Sometimes the greatest gift life offers isn't saving someone who doesn't value your sacrifice, but having the wisdom to step back and let consequences unfold naturally. Self-preservation isn't selfish. It's essential for survival and growth. Thank you for listening on Garden Story. If you enjoy it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Wishing you happy listening.